Okay, is everybody ready? It's getting close.
Good evening, everybody. This time I'll call our called meeting to order for our public input on our FY 2021 annual operating budget. And this time I'll turn the floor over to you, Dr. Gladney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, board, and good evening to everybody who is with us, as well as those folks who are watching us on Fannin Rebel TV. We're glad you're with us this evening for our special call meeting for public comment for budgetary purposes. Mr. Danner is out front with the public comment sign-in sheet, and we do not have any public comment at this time that has come in for the budget, Mr. Chair. So at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to Ms. Susan Nguyen. And as she comes up here, I'll point out that we have 4 members present. Mr. Louis DeWeese, his wife, is being admitted to the hospital this evening, and he's unable to be with us. So let's please keep her in thoughts and prayers as we begin this. But 4 members constitutes a quorum, of course, so we're okay to meet for the purpose of this. So at this time, Ms. Nguyen, we'll have to get you to speak up because of the rainfall.
Okay.
That's the floor is yours, Ms. Nguyen, if you want to begin your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll entertain public comment throughout, so if I need to pause you, we can do so.
Okay. Good evening, board, and welcome to our call public meeting to solicit public input for our budget. Tonight I'm going to cover our projected general fund budget for FY 2021 and projected budget for our Splice capital projects for 2021. And then I'll present just the tentative budgets for both of those, and then we'll take any questions and comments. So to kind of take us back a little bit in time, the General Assembly started its 40-day session on January the 10th, 2020. And on February the 5th, 2020, which was day 12 of their session, they recessed until February the 18th, 2020 to work on the FY 2021 budget. And on their 29th day of session, March the 13th, 2020, the session was suspended due to COVID-19. The session returned for its 30th day on June the 15th, 2020, and it finished its longest marathon session of 40 days on June the 26th, 2020. The items that I presented to you on February the 11th, 2020, which were in the governor's FY 2021 proposed budget at that time, have changed. The proposed items included a $2,000 raise for all certified teachers and a $1,000 increase for non-certified state-funded employees, making less than $40,000 per year, as well as a 5% raise for transportation and food service employees. And that quickly changed due to the COVID-19 and the subsequent downturn in our economy. And because of that downturn in the economy, the state even advised school systems to prepare for at least a 14% cut in our QB allotment sheet. To be prepared, I prepared revenue estimates using 12%, 14%, 16%, and 18% cuts in our estimated QB allotment sheet for FY21. But I am pleased to announce, and that went back too far, I am pleased to announce that before the session ended, state revenues did not look as bleak as they first did when everything shut down due to COVID-19. Okay, a few highlights of the budget that came from Gatsby Fort Capital Watch was that the 10% was going to be the final cut in our amended budget, and that enrollment growth, equalization, and sparsity in pupil transportation were going to be fully funded, and that there were no cuts in state transportation. So now we can go to the next one. So this is actually what our FY 20 midterm QBE sheet is compared to what our FY21 initial QBE sheet is that we have received. So you can look at each line item. QBE funding formula, it decreased $321,870 or 1.51%. Our less local fair share decreased $50,195 for a decrease of 0.71%. The state nursing grant decreased $3,526 for a decrease of 5.68%. Pupil transportation was fully funded, so it increased by $19,093, a 3.55% increase. Our charter system funds decreased by $11,871 for 3.82%. There is no midterm adjustment. The austerity line you see there of $1,448,900 is where they have put the cut that is the 10%. And then we have sparsity this year that we did not receive last year for $63,648. So to look at the bottom line, FY20, we had $15.4 million versus $13.5 million this year. We have a cut of over $1.9 billion, and our total cut is for the system is 12.52%. So each system, it really affects differently because the cuts applied at the state level and then it flows down. So even though we're a charter system, we choose to continue to use the state salary scale for determining our annual salaries of our certified employees. We have a local supplement for all certified staff that was restored from 5% to 6% of our state-based salary year before last in our FY19 budget. We are still keeping the local supplement at 6%. Our system as a whole has a proposed budget for 272 certified employees in FY21 with salaries of $17.95 million and benefits of $8.19 million for a total of $26.4 million. This is a total increase of $0.6 million in salaries and benefits from FY20, which that would be to account for step increases. Good. All classified employees will receive their step increases just like they normally would, and our district intends to avoid furlough days. Our entire system's proposed budget for 183 classified employees in FY21 has salaries of $4 million and benefits of $2.84 million for a total of $6.84 million. The FY21 budget gives step increases, certificate upgrades, and maintains current benefits for all employees. It includes a decrease in TRS from 21.14% to 19.06%, which saves us $450,000. We have included in all the salary and benefit numbers for FY21 the money to continue to fund a portion of each employee's single health care insurance coverage at $72.45 per month and single dental insurance coverage at $27.73 per month. That's $869.40 per year for health care and $332.76 per year for dental insurance per employee. This is a board-funded insurance benefit that's worth $1,202.16 per employee per year, and it's a benefit for working for the Fannin County School System. So the total cost for 447 positions is $388,000 for health care and $149,000 for dental insurance. And that number of positions can vary just depending on who enrolls. We received our 2019 sales ratio study June 11th, 2020 from the Department of Audits and Accounts Sales Ratio Division. Our overall sales ratio was 38.17 for 2018 and 38.68 for 2019. That's a good ratio because it's under 40, and at our regular board meeting tonight, I will present to you that study just for information purposes only. And then the other numbers that you see in red, I will update at our August 13th board meeting because at this time we don't have the correct or enough information from the tax assessor's office. Their sheets, it's too early in the year to get those until the end of July. So our local revenues, we've projected to increase $75,789, and our other revenues, the interest will increase by $35,000. Our state revenues right now is decreased by $151,000, but that's due to us not knowing what all the other state revenues are going to be, such as CTAE and state preschool, because those have not been approved yet. And our QBE revenue decreased by $1.996 million, and then our federal revenue by $3,500. So we should receive our consolidated sheets from our tax commissioner by the end of July. And then for our FY 2021, Georgia State Department of Education, our initial QBE earnings sheet gave us a total funding of $13.5 million, so that funded 230.12 positions. But compare that to FY 2020, we had $15.4 million, and that funded 235.86 positions. So that's a net loss of $1.9 billion and funding 5.74% less earned positions, with approximately the 12.52% decrease for FY 21. So that is in our budget at the moment. We have the total estimated revenues for our general fund is $33.961 billion. Our total estimated expenditures for our general fund is $37.919 million. And this budget uses around $3.957 million of our reserves. And our actual July 1, 2019 general fund balance was $17.3 million, and our current June 30th, 2020 fund balance is $20.8 million without considering the accrual of both receivables and payables for our general fund. But that's an increased balance of about $3.5 million. So this balance is the rainy day fund that's going to carry us through this financial storm. So we have a draft projected budgets with the best estimates that we can have at this time, but we will have a detailed budget prepared and ready for advertisement at our August 13th meeting after public input and receiving more up-to-date tax digest numbers. But here, I wanted to go ahead and present to you our QBE earnings over the last 6 years. If you look at those, 2016, we received $13.7 million as total state funds, and in 2021, we're receiving $13.5. So you can see how our less Local 5 share has increased, the amended formula adjustments when the state had put those in, and what the earnings are. And this is our millage rate over the last 9 years. And as of right now, 2020, we don't have that projected number. We are anticipating going with the rollback rate as we normally do, and we will have those numbers in our August meeting. So to continue with our capital projects and Splice budget for FY21, excuse me, our projected revenue for Splice was $5.88 million for FY20, and it's $6.24 million for FY21. Our projected revenue with interest was $5.984 million in FY20, and it's $6.399 million in FY21. We have a projected transfer into our Splice of $1.962 million from our general fund for FY21. And our projected fund balance July 1, 2019 was $6.932 million, and it is $9.853 million for July 1, 2020. So our total projected available funds was $12.917 in 20, and it's $18.214 million in 21. In our current budget expenditures for FY21, we have transportation, $539,000, school nutrition program, $44,036, curriculum, $122,000, media, $50,000, technology, $775,000, STEM, $50,000, photocopiers, $21,111, and all the different schools, properties, facilities, and everything has a total budget of $16,613,650. And at our August meeting, we'll have a breakdown and complete detail of those. So that gives our total projected expenditures of $18.214 million. And if we were to spend everything that we budget, that would leave Splice with $52.06. And now we can pull up the other two budgets. think it was just an attachment in a separate attachment in Assembly. There we go. We can do the SPLOST first, which is right there, the second one. So this is just an overview breakdown of our SPLOST budget, which I had stated through the PowerPoint of our projected balances at the beginning, interest, total revenue for the year, total available funds, and then this does have breakdowns in this budget of what is in transportation, school nutrition, curriculum, media, technology. So you can see a much more detail for those. We just don't have the details for facilities yet. And then we can do the other one, that one. And this is the budget that we have at the moment for general fund, which you can then look at and see the differences in local revenue, and it has it's broken down by expenditures. And it also has the SPLOST budget there. And that concludes my presentation on the budget. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Board, any comments or?
Did a fine job.
Mr. Danner, do we have any public comment?
No, sir, not for the budget meeting, no, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nguyen, I'd like to tell you thank you for your work on that, preliminary work on that with the budget. And as she said, we're still waiting on some additional numbers and additional information on the budget. So this is a great start to the budget, and we will see these numbers revised as information comes in and re-present next month. So thank you so much for your work thus far, and look forward to seeing the next presentation. Thank you, Susan. At this time, one of the things that we've done to really help is a focus on personnel. And Mr. Robert Inslee, our Assistant Superintendent, who's in charge of Personnel Administration, has done a great job with looking at personnel and most effectively utilizing our personnel as a way to save money. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about that, and especially one of the new programs that we've implemented that this has actually been kind of on a wish list for us for a couple, 3 years. And so we're glad to see it finally being implemented, and we would have looked at this a little bit sooner except for the disruption of COVID. So we're happy to unveil something called Frontline. Mr. Inslee, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Board. I'm excited to share with you some of the personnel updates that we have for this year, and just to kind of get you some of the data that's out there. We are one of the largest employers in Fannin County, and if you were to count just full-time staff, then we would be the biggest employer, but we do have other companies that have part-time employees that might have a few more than us. But we have over 450 staff, which is a significant amount of people on staff for the 2021 school year. Our budget is generally 85 to 89% of it's going to be for personnel. Well, if you're looking at a $36 million budget, that's about $30 million. So the biggest chunk of our budget is to pay for our people, which is what we need for our kids. So we look at that each year. We look at the 2021 year as, looking at cuts and those types of things. But again, look at this next statement. We've got our intentions for the 2021 school year are to maintain current employment for all current employees and not raise taxes. Thankfully, for a board that is conservative, we've been able to save and be able to not have to do cuts and those types of things for our employees. We don't have any furlough days plans, and there's no plans for decreases in pay, which we're really, really excited about. This year I've worked a lot on trying to save us in any way that we can, and I've been able to save a little over $750,000, closer to $800,000 just on through attrition. Looking at, I've been working with Ms. Miller and her special ed department, moving individuals to meet the needs of our kids throughout the county. So we've been able to save a significant amount of money there. And one of the exciting things that we got going on is the incorporation of Frontline. And like like Susan and Dr. Watney was talking about, Frontline is something that we started implementing, and it's been a wish for us for several years, but we started with subs. And our substitutes now, they actually get notified via Frontline. And, in the old days, and I'm an old guy, for teaching purposes, I would have to call somebody. If I was sick or somebody was sick, then we would have to call we'd have a list of names of subs that you'd have to try to get somebody to cover your classes for the day that's on the approved list. Now, if you have a teacher that gets sick or has a child sick, they hit that they need a sub, boom, it sends it out and it finds a sub for you, which is very, very good for our people. So that was our first step in trying to basically incorporate this. It took a lot of training. Miss Denise Messer down at the central office has done a tremendous job with this, getting our subs trained for this and getting them ready. Susan and her staff, Amy Buchanan, Rebecca Tao, you've got Jill Holloway, you've got Susan, you got all those individuals that are working together to pull all this off, and I'm just thankful that we're able to have this. But we had the incorporation of Frontline about January, where we started looking at subs, and we gradually moved that in at each school. You have three different areas in Frontline. You have recruiting and hiring, absence management, and Frontline Central. And absence management is what I'm talking about when we talk about our subs. Or if I need to take a day, a sick day, then I go in there and I actually fill out my little thing, and it sends it to Dr. Watney to approve my request. Teachers, it will go to their principals, or whatever location it is. But that's been a really, really cool thing. But the substitutes are notified of an absence through Frontline. All sick leave and personal days are now approved through this process. We also, if you go back to recruiting and hiring, we'll go to the next slide here. I'll have to go back to my computer where I can drive it. But recruiting and hiring has been a big deal for us. We're just now starting to push that out, where that we can now push out all those beginning forms for all our employees electronically, and we don't have to have them, do basically the paper and pencil kind of thing. They can send it back and it all can be electronic. And also the Frontline Central, which is down at the bottom, it gives our employees the ability to change G4s, W4s, new hire forms. All those things are then sent out through Frontline Central for that. But let me just kind of give you a test run. I've got one right here. A test run of what's going on here. If you look at the first one, this is just basically our Fannin County Schools website. And for anybody that's interested in being an employee of the Fannin County School System, all they have to do is go up here to the district information, go right down here where it says job openings, click on that, and you'll see that it takes us straight to Frontline. And over here on the left-hand side, you can see the different positions that we have open. So, for example, right now we have an agriculture teacher, we've got some sub-custodian, we've got a couple paraprofessionals, school nutrition, clerical secretarial position, and if you just want to look at specific locations, we can even go here. For example, if I want to know what's open at Blue Ridge Elementary, I click on there, and I see that I have a pre-K paraprofessional job opening, and I also have a front office secretary school level. It tells you when it's posted, when it'll close. But again, this is how our new employees will actually apply. If you are in the system, for example, if you're looking to do a different job, you can go into the internal applicants, and they'll set up basically a login system. Or if you're outside the system, for example, if it's someone that's not a part of the Fannin County School System, they will apply through external applicants, and then they're able to apply for whatever jobs they want to do. If they want to apply to be a secretary or parapro or a custodian, whatever it may be, then they can do it that way. We also post all of our positions on Teach Georgia, which then sends that link from Teach Georgia, which is across the state for all of our teachers, and it will send that link straight to here where everybody can apply. So it's really, really been a cool process for us. And if you, let me get out of this one. And this is what it looks like when you log into Frontline. Now, I won't log in completely because of confidentiality purposes for our people that have applied online. But I will log in here one-handed. And you can see some of the similar type things that you see in the other one. We have this, which is absence management, which is what I was talking about with our subs. So anybody that falls under my supervision, basically I will get a report and I can tell how many places we have unfilled. For example, if we've got teachers out there that we don't have filled, I can go in and then look at that. Over here's where I will actually go in and approve for somebody if they have a personal day or sick day or something like that, and it approves it. And then you can reconcile it, and basically this is all the new process that we use. But I have about 4 different toggle switches I can go in between. The other is the Frontline Central, which is again a way that we're pushing out all those new forms to our employees. And then we have recruiting and hiring. And recruiting and hiring is where I spend a lot of time because I'm looking at basically any kind of applications that may be out there. So if I'm looking for a specific thing, for example, I just go by vacancy and I can go in and we know that we have a secretary job open at Blue Ridge. All I got to do is click that little button right there and hit search, and it's going to show everybody that has applied for that particular position. So it's really, really cool. Or if you want to look at it from an applicant standpoint, vacancies by location, similar to what we were showing you earlier on the other website, but let's just say Blue Ridge Elementary and look for that particular job, you can see that I have 24 individuals right here that has applied for that job. And it's not uncommon for us to have, especially in an elementary education situation like that, where we could see anywhere from 75 to 80 applications. We are very fortunate in Fannin County that a lot of people want to come here and they want to teach and want to work in our system because we are the best. I'm a little partial, but we are the best. But again, you can see, again, the different job postings that you can go out and list out all active postings. And I don't want to click too many things. I don't want to get anybody's confidentiality here taken. But again, there's all kinds of things that we can do with this program. We're so excited to have it and thankful for it. And we will go back to the our next steps for the program is we have the ability to do sub-applications. Now, we've got our subs in there right now because that's how they are notified that they have an opening for a position, whether it be, high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever. But we're going to have them be applying that way from this point forward. So Ms. Denise has been working on that. Our next steps are also certified employee contracts. We can do those electronically. For years, we've done the big set 11 by 17s, and everybody's signed it. Dr. Watney signed a copy for them and assigned a copy for us. We're looking at being able to do those electronically through electronic signatures. And also through Frontline Central, which is something we just started with the pushing out of those new forms for our new employees. If someone wants to change their G4 or W4, any of those types of things, or they want to change an address, they have the ability to do so. And that's a quick update on where we're at with personnel. I'm excited about where we're going with it. It's all at our fingertips, and we're able to do it. Miss Susan has done a phenomenal job with her staff, and Miss Denise has done a great job helping us with this, but I appreciate what they've done in that. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Miss Susan? Okay. All right.
And I'll add to that, Mr. Inslee, you've done a fantastic job administering this program. So, Board, any questions or comments? Okay, we got about 1 minute left, and so we'll need to go ahead and close this meeting to be ready for the 6 p.m. meeting. Mr. Chair.
Do we call for a motion to close this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This time, Board seeks a motion to close our called meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, thank you. So we'll wait till 6 o'clock and call the next meeting to order. You would go ahead and send your devices over to the assembly page for tonight at 6 p.m. Ms. Finley's available if anybody needs assistance.
Say good evening to everybody and welcome. I'll call to order our regular 6 o'clock meeting, and at this time I'll turn the floor over to our superintendent, Dr. Gwatney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Board, and good evening once again to everybody who is with us here in the Performing Arts Center, as well as those folks who are watching us from somewhere else on Fannin Rebel TV. We're glad you're with us this evening. This is the regular monthly meeting for the month of July 2020. And at this time, I'm going to ask Reverend Keith Knuckles if you will come up to the microphone, please, and if everybody would please stand for the invocation.
Let's bow. Precious Heavenly Father, Lord, we're thankful for your name, for your grace, for your mercy, for your power and your might. God, you've blessed us so much. You've put us around these beautiful people in this community. You've given us responsibility. You've given us intelligence. You've given us wisdom. You've given us the idea of unity. And God, you have touched our lives by giving us these precious children to protect, God, to raise, Lord, to teach and prepare them for life and for the same things you blessed us with. For these leaders in this system, for the community members, for these families, for these individuals, continue to bless us with intelligence, wisdom, the desire for unity, the best for our children. Please, God, we ask that you'll do that. Give us safety. Give us understanding on what we are to do. May we trust in you, even by faith, even by walking with what you already have blessed us with, and let us see what it is that you wish for us to accomplish. Bless each mind, bless each heart, give us the strength and the knowledge and the wisdom, and God, give us a smile in our hearts. In the name of Jesus we pray. All God's people said, amen.
And thank you so much, Mr. Knuckles. If everybody would please remain standing, and we'll ask Dr. April Hodges, principal of Blue Ridge Elementary School, to come up to the front and lead us to the pledge to the flag. The flag is located on the stage to the left of the screen. Dr. Hodges, thank you.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Hodges. You may be seated. Mr. Chair, our agenda item number 4 is executive session, so I make the recommendation that the board dismiss to executive session.
Chair seeks a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you, sir. One of the purposes of this is to confer with council, so I'll ask if Ms. Doss will come. Also to discuss personnel, so Mr. Inslee and Ms. Rigdon, if you would join us in executive session, please.
You didn't lose the mechanic, did you? Fired him, did you? The guy called and asked about it, file it on. No, I had a guy in Blairsville, got two, and he left.
Everybody ready? Yep. While in executive session, no action was taken, so at this time I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? But we do need to approve the minutes from our last executive session, which was on 6/11 of 20. So at this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes from last executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Gladney.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I'll say good evening to everybody who is joining us. The meeting is in progress. I will comment that Mr. DeWeese is unable to be with us this evening. However, 4 members constitutes quorum, and we're able to still conduct business. I'd also like to welcome back those folks who are watching us online on Rebel TV. Mr. Chair, our next item on the agenda is number 5, and that is to approve the consent agenda. There are 2 parts. A is to approve the existing agenda tonight, and then B is to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was the regular monthly meeting for June 2020. That was June 11th, 2020 at 6 p.m. And Mr. Inslee will scroll through those minutes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Inslee. So, Mr. Chair, I recommend to approve the items on the consent agenda as presented.
Can the chair have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is number 6, School Governance Team Update, and I'll welcome to the podium our Assistant Superintendent, Achievement and Governance, is Sarah Rigdon. Ms. Rigdon, you have an update for us about SGTs.
I absolutely do. Thank you so much, Dr.
Floor is
Gladney.
yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. This will be a very quick update about our school governance teams and what's going on right now. Up here you can see the names of each of the people who are serving this year on our school governance teams. We do have 7 members on each team, which of course the chair is the principal of the school, 2 faculty and staff members, one of which is appointed, the other that is elected, 2 parents who are both elected, and community members who are appointed and approved by the school governance team. High school also has 2 students that serve on their SGT, and they are non-voting members. You'll see up here when their next meetings are. This will be the first meeting of the school year for the new school governance teams. Our first meeting is coming up next Tuesday on July 14th at 4 o'clock in the data room at East Fannin Elementary. It's going to be a banner day on July 15th. We have 3 school governance team meetings on that day. I will start off the morning at 9 a.m., bright and early, with the Fannin County Middle School SGT. That will be held in their data room. Then we'll move over to West Fannin Elementary at 2 o'clock, where they will have their SGT meeting in their media center. Finally, ending the day at 4:15 at Fannin County High School, where we will meet in the cafeteria at 4:15. The first meeting of the school year is always an extremely busy meeting. There are a lot of organizational things that take place on that day, and so I'm excited about getting started this new school year with our new school governance teams.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Rigdon? Well done. You're going to be busy next week, Ms. Rigdon.
Okay.
There's no action needed on that item, Mr. Chair, so we will move on then to item number 7, which is the central office update for this month. And item number 7 is a restart plan for the Fannin County school system for the 2021 school year. And we've consulted many stakeholders and others, including representatives from the medical field, the legal profession, economic development, public safety, the Department of Health, as well as our own SGTs and the board to create those surveys that were sent out since the last board meeting. And I want to thank everybody who participated and completed the survey. Thank you so much, because your opinion, it matters to us and it is appreciated. Ms. Rigdon and the other leaders have worked tirelessly to create the document that's going to be shared with you tonight. It is important to note that the many sources involved with this document don't necessarily agree with each other. The important part for us was to get the information and make the best decisions that we can. Please know that this plan is subject to change, and what is stated will likely end up revised. We need to think of this as a living document, and it will be modified as new things are learned. Additional guidelines and mandates come from the state government and public health, as well as the Georgia Department of Education. I greatly appreciate all that has been done, Ms. Rigdon, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watney. I am excited tonight to speak to you about the opening of schools for the 2020-2021 school year. So let's get started with a quick review about how we got to where we are tonight. In June, the Department of Education, along with the Department of Public Health, developed and released school-level guidance about reopening our schools in the fall of 2020. The guidance was used to develop tentative plans for our school system, and those plans were vetted against several stakeholder groups, which would include school-level and district leadership, our school governance team members, which are comprised of faculty and staff members, parents, and also community members, and also a task force of community members who were assembled to try to give us the best feedback they could possibly give us when it comes to reopening our schools. Tonight, we're going to share the survey results that we released in June. Those surveys were taken by both faculty and staff members and also parents, and we're going to share our revised reopening plans for this school year. So quickly, let's take a look at the survey participation. There were actually 2 surveys that were released and developed to give parents and faculty and staff an idea of what we were considering for our reopening plan. You'll see that 941 parents took part in the first survey, which was a survey developed based on starting the school year in the green or low to no spread of COVID-19. 648 parents also took the second survey, which was based on our responses if we were in the yellow or mild to moderate COVID spread. Faculty and staff, 299 members took the first survey, and 241 took the second. Let's see what they think. One of our first questions on there was to parents and guardians about the use of masks, which I'm certain that y'all have noticed is a fairly hot topic on news everywhere. So the question was, should the use of masks be a personal choice made by family and not a mandate by the school system? So you can see by looking at our pie charts, in the low to no spread survey, 83.3% of respondents felt like it should be a personal choice by the family and not a mandate by the school system. Even if we were in the yellow, which was the mild to moderate spread, almost 3/4 of our families felt like it was their right to make a personal choice for their family. Let's see what our faculty and staff said. Similarly, our faculty and staff also echoed the same sentiments. 81.5% of faculty and staff members felt like the use of masks should be a personal choice that is made by the individual and not a mandate by the school system. That was if we were in the low to no spread. 65.1% felt the same way, even if we were in the mild to moderate spread for COVID. Another question was, how would you feel if the use of masks is mandated? Parents and guardians, 58.4%, said they had no support for the mandate of the use of masks. If we combine no support and those who are neutral, who do not have an opinion, you've got almost 3/4 of all respondents who would not support the mandate of masks. Faculty and staff is slightly different. And here I will also insert that most faculty and staff members are extremely compliant individuals. And I feel like their responses are probably due to the fact that they would be supportive of their school no matter what. 50% of faculty and staff members said they could support it, but then almost 50% or 50% total said they would have either no support or it would be a neutral support. That's fairly remarkable. Another question was more specific about the use of masks, and it was about whether or not masks should be required on school buses. We will all be able to say straight up front with you that school buses are probably the most, our biggest concern at this point when it comes to students being exposed to illness. Think about that school bus. Is it large or is it small? Is there a lot of space available? No. Kids are sitting fairly close together. And so this is going to be an area where, yes, we all accept that there's a great chance that students could be exposed to someone who has an illness. Even with those facts in mind, if you look at the parent and staff or the parent and guardian survey results, 40% of parents disagreed with the mandatory use of masks. Only 34.5% of parents agreed that masks should be mandatory on school buses. If you look at faculty and staff, 52.7% of faculty and staff members felt like it should be a mandate for students and bus drivers to wear masks on the bus. 25.8% disagreed, and 21.5% were neutral. Now let's move on to something that I think most all respondents agreed with overall, and that was whether or not temperatures should be taken in the morning before anyone enters the school buildings. Parents and guardians had 81.2% that agreed this would be a strong practice, and 87.6% of faculty and staff agreed that it would be a good idea for us to get that baseline temperature before we start our school days. Another question was whether or not we should take a second temperature reading at the end of the day. 65% of parents agreed that that would be a strong practice, and 71.6% of faculty and staff also agreed. This was a little bit different, and some parents questioned us in their comments about what's the thinking behind this. And when we originally came up with this question, the reason we added it was because oftentimes parents will medicate their child before they send them to school if they have a temperature. That's actually not very uncommon. It's fairly frequent that at lunchtime you'll see a spike in the number of students who arrive at the school nurse's station because their Advil or their Tylenol has worn off. And we would like to remind parents that if a student does have a fever, medicating them to get their temperature down is actually not what we would prefer that they do. We would much prefer that their child stay home that day because we do always excuse students who are absent because of illness. So another question we had was, would you feel if we restricted access for parents and visitors if we were designated as a minimal to moderate spread for COVID-19? 77.3% of parents agreed that that would be a strong practice. 18.8% said that they would disagree with that. Faculty and staff members overwhelmingly felt like that would be a good idea to restrict access into our schools. 93.8% agreed that it would be a strong practice. Only 2.3% disagreed. So now let's talk about how people felt about our initial plans. We asked them, what's your confidence level in our screening plans and the risk management? And if you'll take a look at it, you'll see that between parents and guardians and faculty and staff, the numbers are the largest about highly confident that we had effective plans in place. We realize that our biggest role in this is to prevent the spread of COVID and to also screen our students. We need to make sure that the kids, as they're coming into school, that they are illness-free. That will be the biggest thing that we can do to help contain and make sure that illness does not spread. If you look at the highly concerned area, there were 8.7% of parents who were highly concerned, and only 2.4% of the faculty and staff members had concerns about our plan. Now, we also had one final question here about exam exemptions for attendance. We may have inadvertently encouraged students to come to school when they were not well, and that was because we have allowed exemptions for good attendance at our middle and high school. This will probably be something that we send back to our school governance teams to decide if this is a practice they want to continue or not. 29.2% of parents disagreed that we should not drop an exemption based on attendance. But if you'll take a look over at faculty and staff, only 10% of those people felt like that we should not drop attendance as an indicator. So it may be time for us to look back at this and decide if this really is the right policy for us to have. We also had a question about whether or not parents are planning to send their kids to school. There's a lot of green right here. And green is, I am sending my child to school, and that is 90.6% of the parent respondents. Only 9.4% say they're planning to homeschool their child. The other question on this slide is, if the system offered online learning, would you be interested? You'll see that almost 67% said, no, thank you. 33.2% said they possibly might be interested in an online learning option. We dug a little bit deeper about the online learning and what parents and faculty and staff felt about it when we had to implement it this past spring. It's interesting to note that parents and guardians, 25.2% of them were highly concerned about the online learning back in the spring, whereas only 1.3% of faculty and staff was highly concerned about the quality of education that the student could receive in an online setting. Parents and faculty and staff had similar numbers when it came to highly confident, but you'll see that most parents that responded were in the neutral to concerned or highly concerned about the quality of education. So now, what are our next steps? Well, here's our next steps. On August 3rd, we're excited that our faculty and staff will report for the first day of school for this school year. And on August 7th, we will welcome our students back on campus. We cannot wait to see our kids. It's been a very long time. They need us just like we need them. Parents will have the option to send their child to school, to our traditional school, or we're going to offer them an online learning program. Any student in kindergarten through 12th grade will be able to enroll in this online learning program, even students, including students that have a disability and have an IEP. Students, however, that are in pre-K will not be eligible for online learning. So now let's take a couple of moments to talk about what will traditional school look like. And when I say traditional school, that's the school all of us know. What will it look like this year? First off, masks for both personnel and students will be optional. If students wear masks, the parents will need to provide the mask, and they'll also need to teach their child how to wear a mask properly. Temperatures will be taken for all students, faculty and staff, parents and guardians in the morning as they arrive on campus. The plan for taking temperatures will look slightly different at each school, but it will happen at each school. Anyone with a temperature of 100 degrees or higher will not be allowed to stay at school, and that includes employees, parents, and kids. We will not take afternoon temperatures before the students leave for the day. Part of that decision was based on feedback from local physicians who felt like it actually might be more trouble than it's worth. And so that was dropped from our plan. Hand sanitizer that meets safety guidelines will be made available to students and adults as they're entering the buildings, and also to our students as they board a school bus. And yes, we keep the MSDS labels for all the products that we purchase for the school system, and so we do ensure that all of them meet FDA guidelines. When possible, students will not change groups for instruction or movement between classes will be monitored. This is a little bit tougher. At the elementary level, we're going to require that teachers in departmentalized grades actually move to serve their students instead of the students moving from classroom to classroom. We did have discussion about making all elementary classrooms totally self-contained. But of course, we all know that teachers are highly trained and highly qualified in the area where they're normally assigned to teach. And it might be just a little bit unfair to ask a fifth grade ELA teacher to also suddenly learn the fifth grade ELA science curriculum, the fifth grade ELA social studies curriculum, and the fifth grade ELA math curriculum, and be able to teach it effectively. And so we are going to do our very best to minimize the movement of students, but we are going to let the teachers move so that they can stay in their area of expertise and their area of comfort. At middle and high school, the classes will change, as always, and students will be monitored as they're changing classes to make sure that they're not congregating. Where possible, we will have class changes that are staggered, and traffic patterns will be addressed to encourage efficient movement and try to prevent overcrowding in common areas. Whenever possible, students will be assigned to seats and will keep the same seat during that instructional class period. Again, that will be helpful to make sure that the same group of students are always together. How will meals look? Each school will develop school-level procedures to limit the number of students in the cafeteria at a time. Some students will most likely grab and go for breakfast or lunch and eat their meal in a classroom or another designated area other than the cafeteria. Food items will be wrapped appropriately to limit the possibility for cross-contamination. So we are going to try to reduce the number of students who are together in the cafeteria, but there will still be students in the cafeterias. How will transportation look? The final plan for buses is not finalized, but here are some things that you can expect. Hand sanitizer will be available to students and drivers as they board the school bus. Bus routes and morning pickup times may be adjusted, but parents and guardians will be informed about those changes before the first day of school so that they know what to expect. All morning bus routes will become express routes, with every bus making a stop at all 3 grade span schools so that kids are not transferring between buses at the elementary schools. Our buses will be sanitized daily and they'll be ventilated. The roof hatch will be up unless it's raining. A decision will be made about mandatory masks requirements on buses before we begin school. We are simply not ready to make that decision right now. As a reminder, parent drop-off and parent pickup are available and are a viable option for anyone who is concerned about the conditions on school bus, because the bus riders are in close proximity to each other. School visitors. Parents and guardians will be allowed to walk their child to class during the first few days of school, but they will be asked to wear a mask. Schools will determine when the parents and guardians will no longer be allowed beyond the main entrance or the office area for morning drop-offs, and we will communicate those plans with our families. Parents and guardians can schedule meetings, including online meetings with teachers. We want to keep the lines of communication strong, but we do need to limit the number of people who are flowing through the buildings each day. If there are special circumstances or unique situations that need addressed, parents can always contact the school's principal for assistance. Cleaning and sanitation. Schools will be cleaned at the end of each day using an approved cleaner sanitizer. Common areas such as restrooms, water fountains, and high-touch surfaces like door handles, those will be cleaned and disinfected throughout the school day. Cleaning supplies will be made readily available to classroom teachers to use within their classrooms as they see fit. Additional deep cleaning will be performed on an as-needed basis. Students will be taught proper hand washing techniques and also good hygiene habits. And we will have hand washing, which is encouraged throughout our school day. So now you may be thinking, well, what if I'm not comfortable with the structure of traditional school? Here's some awesome news for all parents who are concerned. We are going to offer an online learning platform, and you can let us know beginning as early as tomorrow morning that you want your child opted in. All students in grades K through 12 are eligible to enroll in online learning, including students who have IEPs. As I stated before, pre-K students do not have an online option, and if your pre-K student will not be attending school this year, you're going to need to contact the Board of Education so that we can withdraw your student from the program. Whoops. Oh. So what does online learning mean? Students will be taught through an educational platform in their home using a school-issued device. The student will not attend traditional face-to-face school. They won't be on buses, and they won't have meals delivered by the school. For students who do not have Wi-Fi at home, the school system will issue a hotspot for the child's device. Keep in mind that Wi-Fi will work like a cell phone. If you have poor cell service at your home, the Wi-Fi won't work for you either. The platform will provide instruction to your child with the parent guardian serving as a learning coach. The responsibilities of the learning coach will be directly proportionate to the age of the child, with younger students requiring more assistance. Students who are enrolled in the online learning will spend the majority of their traditional school day from 8 to 3 engaged in learning, either working online or completing assignments that were given online, just like their peers who attend traditional school. There will be personnel assigned to check up on your child's progress and make contact if your child is not working on their assignments or logging into the platform daily. The learning facilitator, which would be the parent or guardian, will be given the name of someone at school who can help them navigate the online learning platform or assist them if they have issues. The online learning option, will not look like online learning in the spring of 2020. Our teachers will be teaching face-to-face in the traditional school setting with the students who are in their assigned classes. Online learning in the spring was based on review, practice, and extension of material that students had already been taught during the school year. The online learning option for this year will be wholesale instruction of new material since students were promoted during the summer. The content will be rigorous and it will be graded. Attendance will be taken daily and verified using the completed assignments and the login times for students. Students enrolled in online learning may participate in sports and extracurricular activities unless we receive guidance from GHSA that states otherwise. Online learning students are Fannin County students. They are enrolled in our schools and they will have the same rights, privileges, and requirements as all other Fannin County students. Students enrolled in online learning will be encouraged to remain in the program through the first semester or even the entire year. Online learning will be a significant commitment by the child and the family. How do I enroll my child in online learning? Enrollment information will be made available tomorrow, July 10th, via an automated phone call. It'll be on the school system website, and there will also be posts on social media. Parents will complete an online enrollment form on the internet for each child that they want to enroll in online learning. The online learning decision is made for each child individually, not for a whole family. If a parent does not have access to a device or the internet, they may call their child's school to enroll. If there's no answer at the child's school, parents can call the Board of Education at 706-632-3771 between the hours of 7:30 and 3:30, Monday through Friday. The window is short. The window to sign up for online learning will be open from tomorrow, July 10th, until July 20th. So now let's talk about what if the schools were closed again. If your student is a traditional student and we close our schools, your student will go into online learning that was very similar to what they saw in spring 2020. They will still have access to their teachers that they have in traditional school, and they'll complete the assignments in the traditional school. We will take grades and we will take attendance. If your student is enrolled in online learning, there will be no changes if we close our schools. The student will continue working in the online learning setting. Online learning instruction, grading, and attendance will continue as before. It will not be affected in any way if we need to close our schools. So you may be thinking, well, what if my child gets sick and cannot attend school? There are two different solutions here also, depending on which school your child is attending. If your child is a traditional school student, they're going to be able to continue learning as the child is able to, with assignments being available online through their teacher's Google Classroom, or assignments may be picked up by the parent in the school office like we've always done. Remember, absences for illness are always excused with a doctor's note or a parent note, as long as it is sent in or emailed within 3 days of a student's return to school. If your student is an online learning student, the parent can call or email the school to report illness. And then the student can resume their classes as soon as they're able to. Remember, online learning students will be expected to attend every day also. And so if there is an illness of an online learning student, the school will need to be notified. You may be thinking, well, what if my child's quarantined and cannot attend school? If your child is a traditional school student, they'll be able to continue learning with assignments being available online through their teacher's Google Classroom, or assignments may be picked up by the parent in the office. Grades and attendance will be taken. If your child is an online learning student, no changes. The student will continue working in the online learning setting. So now let's speak for just a moment about illness and quarantine. We'll release additional procedures and guidance related to COVID-19 management, notification of illness, and quarantine requirements as we receive it from the Department of Public Health and local health authorities. And now let's address the fluidity of plans. As stated before, our plans have been developed on current guidance from the Department of Education in conjunction with feedback from the Department of Public Health, local authorities, community leaders, and feedback from various stakeholder groups, which include our parents. Our parents may change based on future orders from the governor, the Department of Community Health or Public Health, and the Department of Education. Do you have any questions about our reopening plans?
Board, any questions for Ms. Rigdon?
On that 10 days from the 10th to the 20th,
Yes, sir.
let's say some parents, choose to do, but they get cold feet before how does that look?
Okay, you may have been listening and hearing about a lot of districts where they're asking parents to sign a contract or an agreement saying that the child won't be coming back to school, that they have to commit to it. And our position on that is it would be extremely helpful if a parent can commit, because we will be allocating funds to the online learning platform. It is an extremely expensive platform. It's the real deal. It will teach wholesale what the student needs to learn. And so we really do not want to invest the money in the platform if the student's not going to actually go all the way through. But here's also the deal. We are never turning a child away from our schools. If the parent says, I want online learning, and 2 weeks in they say, oh, I don't like this option, or their child says, I can't do this. If they're comfortable with the traditional school, then we absolutely want them back in school. Our desire is always to operate a traditional school with face-to-face. We believe that our instruction is best in that way, and we believe that we're providing our kids not only with strong instruction of academic subjects, we're also teaching them a lot of other things in school as well. There is a hidden curriculum in schools, and that includes things like getting along with others, following directions, being part of a team, learning how not to get your way sometimes. There are great things that are taught in schools every day. And so if that parent says, you know what, this home thing with this online is not working for our family, we want them back. So we are not asking parents to sign a commitment, but we do want them to be extremely thoughtful as they make that decision, because it is going to require us to allocate and spend funds that could be better spent if they're not going to stick with the program. And so it's a big decision. It is a big decision.
Thank you.
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Reagan, is the online learning platform going to be able to capture classroom presentations, or are teachers going to be required to do the same presentation twice?
They are not. And so this has been a concern for our teachers, because I know that a lot of them are very worried that they're going to be expected to do both. Our teachers are amazing folks. We love them, and we value them. They cannot work 24/7, 365. It's simply not possible. And so our teachers will not be the online learning teachers. When I say that we're offering an online learning option, it will be through a third-party platform, such as something we purchased through Pearson, Georgia Virtual School, something like that. Our teachers, there will not be an expectation that they're also teaching online. They cannot do it.
No.
Our teachers are face-to-face teachers. They will be teaching the kids who are in their classrooms. Now, if we have a kid that has to be out because of illness or quarantine, then they're still that child's teacher, and they would have assignments gathered for that child so that they don't get behind, things like that. But we are not asking our personnel to be both types of teachers, because it's simply not possible. So, but we are committed to providing a high-quality curriculum to our students. We have not decided which platform we are using yet, but the ones that we're looking at are certified by Advanced Ed SACS accreditation type things. And so, I mean, it will be real, but I promise you, it is a sizable commitment by families. And so it is not something that, if they think it looks anything like March, they're going to be very surprised, because it will look nothing like March.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Rigdon? I'll say well done, Ms. Rigdon. Thank you so much. With that, Mr. Chair, then, we're ready for agenda item number 8, which is a CARES Act update. And so, Sarah, we're going to welcome you back to the podium to share an update with the board on what is called the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or CARES Act, funds that were received by the Fannin County school system. So,
Yes.
Ms. Rigdon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I promise this part will be much, much shorter. Okay, so the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Trump on March 27, 2020. The Fannin County School District was awarded $721,600 through the Georgia Department of Education, flowing from USAID. The allocation is based on a per-pupil expenditure similar to Title I, but these are not Title I funds. Private schools had an opportunity to also apply for these federal funds, and Mountain Area Christian Academy elected to participate. MACA was allocated $34,348 from the funds that were awarded to Fannin County. Like the Fannin County Schools allocation, their allocation was determined based on a per-pupil formula on their student enrollment as of March 2020. In July, the State Board of Education will take action to restore all of the private school participation funds back to public school districts that have participation. So we will receive carryover funds in the amount of $34,348, which will make us whole. This, of course, is pending State Board approval. These carryover funds will restore the total allocation all the way back to $721,600. The CARES Act provides education funding to state agencies and local education agencies to support schools as they're dealing with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. These funds can be used in a variety of ways to support our schools and students, and this infographic gives you some examples of how those funds can be used. Fannin County Schools will be using a large sum of our money for distance and remote learning, which is that top middle area, so that we can provide hotspots if we need to. Also, online learning for our students that elect to be educated in an online setting outside of the traditional school. We'll also be using funds for working with staff members that take leave because of the COVID pandemic, and also for cleaning and supplies, for equipment to help sanitize our buildings. Also some specialized spending for the school nutrition program so that we can individually wrap and buy extra containers for kids' food so that we don't have the spread of virus. And so anyhow, those funds are very, very specific, and they're good until September of 2022. And so as soon as our budget is approved, then we can start drawing down those funds. Do you have any questions about the funds, the CARES Act funds, or how we're planning to use them? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rigdon. Okay, our next item is we're going to invite Director of Transportation, Mr. Denver Foster, up to the podium, and he's going to share an update with something that we are looking at with CARES Act funds, and this is something called Here Comes the Bus. So welcome to the podium, Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Dr. Gwaltney. Thank you, Board, for hosting me here. We've got a little video we'll show right quick to get started. This is a piece of software that we bought.
Every morning, Susie's parents sent her traveling down to the bus stop. And every morning, Susie was either a little too late or a little too early, which meant standing in the freezing cold, pouring rain, hot sun, and roaring winds. Luckily, Susie's parents started using Here Comes the Bus, a new app that lets them see the exact location of Susie's school bus. Now Susie arrives at the bus stop at just the right time, every time. Here comes the bus from Synovia Solutions. Don't ask, no.
So we've partnered with Synovia Solutions in this, and it's a really neat app that will allow parents to set a geo-fence, if you will, around their house at a certain distance. And as the school bus enters that geo-fence, it will send them a text alerting them that the school bus is close to the residence. This will work as for morning pickups as well as afternoons, so that parents will be advised exactly where their child is. They can actually look at this app if they were on a field trip or away from here, and be able to see exactly where their child is at any time. This is actually the first phase that we'll be rolling out. My guys have worked extremely hard because each bus has to have a modem put in, and they've been doing that this summer along with preparing for the school year coming up with a few changes, such as the hand sanitizer and other things that we've added to the buses for the pandemic. So we should be ready to roll this out hopefully on the first day of school. Parents should be able to get this app. We're going to roll it out onto social media, onto the website, about how they sign up. There's no cost to the parents to do this. It's free, so they'll be able to sign in and enter their child's bus number and school district code and be able to track their child's bus. So it's going to make things a lot easier for us at transportation because we have a lot of calls in the morning. Well, my bus didn't come, or I didn't see it, or it ran by the house. So we can identify those issues and hopefully get them resolved with the parents so that they know the bus when it comes every day. And it'll also allow us to, if a school bus is having issues that morning, we can actually send out messages to those parents notifying them that, hey, bus 13's had a problem, it's going to be late, so they know ahead of time rather than having to try and guess where the bus is or call the garage. So a very useful tool in our arsenal for transporting children. A lot of metro districts are using this with great success, and I hope that we share in that success here. Thank you to Ms. Rigdon for helping us out with this with the CARES Act money. She rocks it, and she's done a great job getting us the money to take this project on. And like I said, this is just the first phase. We're actually going to implement some other stuff later on down the road as time goes, but this was, I felt like something we needed to do. I wish we would have had this prior to the end of school last year, to where we could use it. It would have helped us, been very beneficial in the food delivery side of things. If we have to go back to that, this is not strictly just for school, it's for school buses. So if we wind up having to deliver meals again, they'll know where their meals are coming, so, or when. So I'm very confident that it'll be well worth the money, and I look forward to rolling it out and allowing the parents to access the app.
Well done. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Foster? I'm proud of your implementation of technology on the buses, and this is one more example of that. And so this is great, and I do think that this is going to help parents and kids.
Well, this is something that I had actually wanted to implement when I had taken over as transportation director, but the opportunity just didn't present itself immediately. And there's more to come, but we're taking baby steps right now and trying to get things rolling, and with the pandemic and whatnot. So like I said, there'll be more to come, but this is just the beginning, and it's going to make things a lot easier for everybody involved. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Foster. Mr. Chair, next item is number 10, facilities update, and we're going to ask Assistant Superintendent Darren Danner if he'll come up and give us an update on recent activities in the school district with facilities. Mr. Danner, good evening.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Dr. Whitney. A couple pictures here from you. First from Blue Ridge. A lot of tile being replaced there at Blue Ridge. These are hopefully some before and after pictures. Go ahead, Robert, there. Just go ahead and start scrolling through. Several classrooms, actually offices there at Blue Ridge. Again, that was done a couple of weeks ago. It is completed now. It's already been waxed. Actually, Dr. Hodges can get back in her office now. So she was out of her office there for a week or so. At East Fannin, had East Fannin outside, a little touch up. All the windows outside area has been painted. Also, their new floor tile there, that's Mr. Price's office, I think. And then Ms. Crump's office is next there on the left. Good little project just got completed other than the painting. The East Fannin gang bathrooms on the 4th and 5th grade hall. 1950 something when the building was built, and
Yeah, 6.
56?
It opened in 6, yeah.
It opened in 56. So this nice salmon-colored tile bathrooms in there. You know, back in the day, I'm sure it was state-of-the-art. So again, this is some before pictures. All right, go ahead, Robert, there. These are some pictures just in phases as it's going through. The tile, again, was pretty rough. So this is the finished floor. Sheetrock's been placed over the tile in the bathroom was just up there today. The bottom of the men's and the women's bathroom has been wrapped in sheetrock with FRP board on bottom so that it's washable. So then the roofs or the ceilings and the painting will be happening over the next 2 weeks. So it'll be ready to go when school starts there. It was a nice little project there that got finished up at East Fannin. West Fannin, again, the media center was recarpeted, mainly because the carpet again there was rolling up, becoming a trip hazard. So each year when our slip, trip, and fall gentleman comes in, pointed it out. So again, we got that replaced this summer, trying to keep the media center safe there. Again, a lot of 6 classrooms gets re-tiled. West Fannin has a moisture problem, so when it was installed multiple years ago, a water barrier was not put down. So again, this new tile does have water barrier. Again, this is finished products. Also, that's an office area there to the right. Go ahead, Robert. And then there's just another picture of the office area. So again, everything's getting put back in place. Middle school, Mr. Knuckles requested gym get painted. So again, these are before and after pictures of the locker room. Actually, the one on the left is before, the one on the right is after. Now we'll have to get the lockers redone, so hopefully that'll be coming up pretty soon. The actual gym itself has been repainted. Again, it is a completed project. So again, these are some of the pictures while it's going on. So again, don't have the finished pictures on there. At high school there at the registrar's office, we talked about it last month. What was a very big eyesore and actually could be a safety issue is that big AC unit there. So again, we had a fence put it around it, put the slats in it, just make it more feasible, appropriate for when somebody walks up to register their kids to our system. Very excited about this. This was a week and a half ago. This is the Welding Lab. The one on the left was actually 3 weeks ago. The one on the right was a week and a half ago. So the welding booths have been stood up. 2 of them have been installed. There's a switch panel that's just going to run these new welding booths. Mr. Flowers is very excited, and as long as Mr. Roof and all the high school admin. So again, you know, we will have welding at the high school come August. Again, there's a better picture of what it's going to look like there. You can see 4 welding booths. The other 2's just to the right. But again, that was a week and a half ago. So again, there's been major productivity going on there. While we're still on facilities there, go ahead, Robert, go ahead and pull up the other. Maintenance crew, give a shout out to them. Last year, fiscal year 1920, 1,378 work orders completed by the maintenance crew. So again, I want to give them a shout out. And for a 6-man crew, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And that's great progress, too, that we're seeing there in the buildings, and I'm thankful for the Splice that allows us to carry through with most of that you've gone over. So, and we've got a little pleasant update on that we'll come to with the Splice update in a few minutes. But, Board, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Danner?
Just a big thank you for the salmon bathrooms no longer being at East Fannin. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's, when the paint gets on it there, it's gonna look good. It's not the lipstick on the pig. It's gonna be nice.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Danner, number 11 is also yours. This is construction update, sir.
Construction update, again, talked to the CM at risk yesterday. Actually, today, he said, do we need to come up to present anything tonight, which he was not ready. So again, we're still not ready to present transportation facility and or staff development center. The big holdup right now is trying to get some good numbers on a fueling station. So the CM at risk reached out to a petroleum company. They want to come on site, to come meet with us, for us to tell them exactly what we need. They're going to give us a price, and then we'll be ready to present something to the board, along with some renderings and everything else for both the transportation facility and also the staff development center. So hopefully that'll be coming very soon.
Mr. Danner, is it reasonable then to expect that we can do this before the next regular monthly meeting in August?
I should hope so, absolutely.
So if it's agreeable to the board, then we could perhaps have a special call meeting for the purpose of construction update?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Board, any feedback on or comments, questions for Mr. Danner? Okay, for item number 12, Mr. Danner, it's you, and we'll also ask Ms. Lindos to come up. This is public comment.
I need to read to you the ongoing Fannin County School System rules and regulations for participation in public board meetings. The Fannin County School System believes that public involvement is an essential element for a successful school system. Board meetings are public meetings and are not meetings of the public. All comments should be directed to the Board of Education and not to any one individual member. All speakers are asked to keep their remarks civil. The use of obscene or profane language, physical violence, or threat thereof, or loud or boisterous behavior will not be tolerated. If you desire to speak, you have to sign up in advance. Mr. Danner, how many people do we have that have signed up?
We currently have 4.
We have 4. Public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes or 5 minutes per person. So if we have 4, then is it the chair's directive that each person would have 5 minutes?
Correct, that is.
So each of the speakers that have signed up tonight would have 5 minutes. Neither the board nor individual members of the board will respond to anyone presenting to the board. Again, remarks are to be addressed only to the entirety of the board and not to any one individual member. And everyone is reminded that all remarks are to be polite, respectful, and only G language is to be used. Mr. Danner, if you'll call our first speaker.
Our first speaker is Dr. Dylan Miller regarding COVID-19.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you this evening. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dr. Dylan Miller. I'm a family medicine physician here in Fannin County, and I have 3 kids in the school system. I want to briefly go over the medical recommendations for preventing the spread of COVID-19 in schools. There are 3 ways we know we can use to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Hand washing, 6-foot social distancing, wearing a mask. Hand washing is pretty self-explanatory, so I would like to discuss the other 2. Studies show that if you're within 6 foot of an infected person if you're within 6 foot of an infected individual in an enclosed space for longer than 15 minutes, your chances of catching COVID-19 are significantly increased. Under typical conditions, students and teachers are going to be constantly within feet of each other, let alone 6 feet of each other, for hours at a time. If it's not possible to spread students 6 feet apart, the science clearly states that masks must be worn to protect. This is the policy that's currently being enforced at universities across the state. As a physician, I cannot support a plan moving forward that does not mandate 6-foot social distancing, and when this is not possible, have a mask requirement. I'll repeat that. I cannot support a plan moving forward that does not mandate 6-foot social distancing, and when this is not available or possible, a mask should be required. I wear a mask every day. I do not enjoy it, but I do it because I know it keeps people safe. Some are concerned about it depriving your body of oxygen. This isn't true. What is true is that if everyone is wearing a mask, this significantly reduces transmission of COVID-19. Remember, masks protect others more than they protect the wearer. This is one of the best weapons in our arsenal. Some people believe that children could become infected with COVID-19. While children under 15 are less likely to be infected and will develop less severe complications, there's still debate in the medical community about their level of infectiousness. Teenagers, however, are more susceptible than small children and are more likely to spread the disease. Some of the first cases in Fannin County involved high school students. As a community physician, my greatest concern is for the safety and health of the teachers and the staff. These individuals are on the front lines caring for our children and putting themselves at the greatest risk. Masks and 6-foot social distancing are their only forms of protection. If you're not mandating masks or social distancing, you are denying them of a safe work environment. This is not the flu. Never in my experience as a physician have I seen tertiary hospitals that have ICUs filled to capacity in the month of July. Some hospitals that regularly accept transfers of the sickest patients are not accepting transfers because of a lack of beds. July is when docs go on vacation because things are slow. This is not normal. And expect the fall and the winter are only going to be worse. Due to the bold choices made by this Board of Education and the community in March, we in Fannin County have not experienced a surge of COVID cases like other areas in the state. But that can change if we become complacent. Thank you, and I pray for the health and safety of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Mr. Danner?
Next name on the list is Shay Wimpy regarding the opening of school.
Hello, my name is Shay Wimpy. I have 3 kids currently in the Fannin County school system. My issue is not really the reopening of school. I think my concern is more if it closes down and if you have children with IEPs. I have 3 children, 2 of which have an IEP. One is merely a IEP for speech, and last spring she did great with the Zoom meetings, Google meetings, all of that stuff. It worked for her. But my other child is severely developmentally disabled, and he is in middle school. And he was unable to do his work. It caused him a lot of frustration, emotional issues. So really, I'm not here, I'm just kind of here to draw that to your attention. There's been so much going on that it's hard to address all that. So I think maybe I just want to point that out to everyone in the event that we do have to close down in the fall or the winter. He did not get the resources he needed, and I don't really blame anyone for that. This was unprecedented, and it's, we were all just trying to get through it. But I have seen a big recession in what his ability level is just in the last 4 to 5 months. And as all the special ed teachers and people that are trained to deal with kids like these, and not me, I mean, I have a college education, and I give all the credit to the teachers because it was as frustrating for me as it was for him. I can't imagine how he felt. He felt like he wasn't capable of anything. It undermined his confidence. So for those kids who do have severe developmental delays and the IEPs that address those issues, not just speech and things that can be done on Google or Zoom, I'm just wondering if there's any kind of plan for those kids if we do have to close down again and go back to that online learning, because Ms. Rigdon said it'll be much more difficult and it will be graded. It won't just be promotion as it was in the spring, which I agree it should be that way. But I'm just wondering if there's a plan in place for those students who really require all of the resources that they get in the traditional school environment. So I know there's no answer to that, but I just kind of wanted to point that out and see if that's something that maybe we can get on the agenda to talk about a little more in the future in the event that it does arise. We have a plan before it happens. Because those students struggle daily, not that all students don't have struggles, but they're already very underdeveloped for their age, so it's a lot more difficult for them to get what they need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shay. Mr. Danner?
Next name on the list is Sarah Gillis regarding the mascot.
Hello, everybody. I know it's in everybody's best interest about this whole mascot issue. It's all over wide of Facebook. The whole county is wanting to know if it's going to be a Raiders or we're going to stay Rebels. No, I don't know why it's going to be a change. But with the best interest of this whole school, with our kids growing up into these schools, strictly need to be Rebels. I have a 4-year-old that's going to be starting Head Start. I would love for him to be a Rebel. It would make sense to not change. I was in soccer for 5-6 years. I didn't believe I would become a Rebel until that point in time. Okay? With every sport or club within this school, they are part of Rebels, right? So my point is, why the mascot change? It is a part of history from God knows of 80s or 50s, however many people has been in this school and has been a Rebel all their lives. Is it not? So my point is, why the name change all of a sudden? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Mr. Danner?
The last name on the list is Courtney Callahan regarding the name and the mascot.
Thank you, Board, for allowing me to speak. Also want to thank you guys all for all your diligent work trying to get our children back in school. Obviously, that's the first and main priority is the safety of the children and the faculty. I myself am a graduate of Fannin County High School, graduated in 1999. Being a Rebel was the greatest thing in my high school career. I have a 4-year-old daughter that will be attending Head Start next year, and I would love for her to grow up and experience what I experienced here as a student, from the 6th grade at Fannin County Middle School up until I graduated high school. There was nothing like being at a high school football game on Friday night and hearing our fight song play. You don't hear that anymore. And with everything that's going on in the state of Georgia now and across the United States, we are losing part of our history. We don't want to lose our history here. That was the grandest thing, and anybody that's with the school here that is here today can attest the same thing. With the pep rallies that we had and the games, there's nothing like that fight of a rebel. And myself, I started a group. We have almost 1,000 members in that group that support keeping and restoring what has been taken away from Fannin County High School. The change of the sword, the change of the letterhead, removing the mascot off of the field house. We want that for our children just like we had it. If we lay down and don't fight for what we believe in, and a teacher that's here right now taught me that many years ago, she was the best teacher I ever had. Had it not been for Fannin County Schools, I would not be who I am today. I just want to reach out to you. I know it's been brought up in the past as far as a name change. I'm not sure if it's an issue now. I'm sure it will become one with everything that's going on. Please take the time to think about what that means for those of us that attended here. My father, God rest his soul, graduated a rebel. He's been gone for over 20 years now. I want the same thing that I had for my child, but better. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Courtney. Mr. Danner? Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, we're ready for item number 13, which is to approve the West Fannin serving line bid. So for that, I'm going to invite Director of School Nutrition, Candace Sisson. Will you come to the front, please? Good evening, Ms. Sisson.
Good evening, Board. Fannin County School Nutrition received a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for $39,052 to purchase a serving line for West Fannin Elementary School. And we posted an invitation for bid on this on June the 9th, and we actually received bids and opened them on Tuesday, July the 7th. And I believe we have a bid tabulation. That's the invitation bid. Right there, tabulation, yes. We received 6 bids, and 5 of those were from Georgia companies. And the low bid was from Mobile Fixture and Equipment from Columbus, Georgia. Their bid of $28,191.61 was the low bid. And I do recommend, and there's a memorandum that goes with this, Mr. Inslee, that we accept the low bid from Mobile Fixture and Equipment Company for $28,191.61 to be paid for with the equipment grant received from USDA and the Georgia Department of Education School Nutrition Division.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sisson, and congratulations on receiving that grant and saving local funds to provide this equipment for the schools. Mr. Chair, are there any questions or comments from you or the board on this matter?
Just one, the additional funds you have left over, will that be taken away if you don't use them, or is it going for installation, or?
Whatever we don't use for the serving line equipment, and there's not a lot of install associated with the serving lines, but it will go back to the state. So.
Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Chair, I recommend that we approve this as presented.
Can the chair have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Is there any discussion? All in favor? Everybody?
Thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you, Ms. Sisson. Good job. Okay, our next item is number 14, Mr. Chair, and that is to approve the district financial report. So I'm going to invite Director of Finance Susan Wynn back to the podium. And Ms. Wynn, let's go ahead and go over this document.
Okay, this is our May the 31st, 2020 report at 91.66% of our fiscal year being complete. Our local revenue was at 102%, 102.28% of our budget. versus 97% from the prior year. And our total revenues is at 97.73% versus 95% from the prior year. And our total expenditures are at 85.29% versus 87% in the prior year. That presents our financial report.
And that's certainly, in my opinion, a healthy financial report. And Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
I recommend passage. Recommend approval, yes, sir.
Can the chair have that motion?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
All right, thank you. And the next item is a Splice update. So, Mr. Inslee, you want to go ahead and open that up? And yeah, drum roll. And if I could direct your attention to the month of May, the collection for the month of May that was received in June, that is $590,291.50. And not only is that a record for a May collection, but that is actually an overall collection record for Fannin County in Spliced history.
Correct.
And so it's a strong indicator of the strength of our local economy, and that's something for which I'm thankful. And this is what allows us to do so many of these projects for our children here in the school district. And so that, to me, is simply amazing if you think about the month of May.
It is. It was so exciting to see that collection.
All right, so, Mr. Chair, no approval is needed on that, so it's just shared for information purposes, so unless there's comments or questions for Ms. Nguyen. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to our next item then, Ms. Nguyen. Item number 16 is to approve the spending resolution for August 2020.
Yes, sir, Board, this is to approve our spending resolution for August of 2020. This is the same as what was approved last month for our spending resolution for the month of July. It's not to exceed 1/12 of the final amended budget for all funds for each month of the fiscal year for June the 30th, and it's for educational materials, supplies, and everything else until we have a budget adopted, so it serves for the month of August.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this will be needed for the month of August. I recommend approval of this spending resolution as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, Board. The next item is number 17, and this is our Fannin County 2019 sales ratio study. Susan Nguyen, would you like to go over this? And I would also invite Lynn Doss if there's anything that you'd like to add from the county perspective on this.
Yes, sir, Board. This is what we had received from the Department of Audits on June the 11th. If you want to open that up. It shows our overall, which I had gone over at our budget meeting. We received that June the 11th of 2020. It shows our overall ratio of 38.68 for this year. And we had comparison in the prior year. And then you can just kind of continue to scroll. It shows the different rates and classifications, and then it'll also have all of the actual property tax lots that were examined during that time period. And then the rest of that are all the studies that they did. And the next document just lists every single county and then their actual tax rate, sales tax ratios.
We'll give Mr. Inslee a chance to catch up with you there. Go ahead with the next document, Mr. Inslee.
And that just shows county by county, everyone's overall ratio and 100% of their adjusted digest.
Okay, and right there's Fannin, Mr. Inslee.
At 38.68.
Ms. Doss, any additional information to share on that? It's my understanding that a good number is below 40 on this. You may want to approach the mic. Thank you.
The school board, the members will remember the ratio has to be between 36 and 40. If it's not, we get penalized. So being right in the middle is literally like hitting the bullseye with an archery game. And this is effort of the Fannin County Tax Assessor's Office. It's our tax dollars at work, and the bottom line is that's just great news for us.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Doss. Ms. Nguyen, do you have anything else you'd like to add on this?
That is all, thank you.
Okay, and this information, this is from the state auditor?
It is from the state auditor, and it's just presented for information.
So, Mr. Chair, there's no action needed on this item. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Next item is number 18, is to approve the Americorps Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU for Americorps. And Mr. Inslee, this is yours.
Yes, sir. This is an updated memorandum that we have received. The last memorandum we have is 2009, but it's basically the same thing that we've had in the past. I've spoken with and they're actually here tonight. If you were to have questions, I see you guys back there, but we appreciate you being here. But we've also had this vetted through our attorney, board attorney, Ms. Doss, and she has confirmed that it is all good.
Okay. Mr. Chair, does the board have any questions? Anybody from the board have any questions or comments, either for Mr. Inslee, who's presenting, Ms. Doss, who has vetted this document, or our visitors who are here representing the organization?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, with that said, sir, I recommend that we approve this document as presented.
Board seeking a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We certainly do appreciate this relationship that we have with them. Yeah. So, okay, the next item then, Mr. Inslee, is yours as well, Americorps 4-H agreement.
Yes, sir. This is we have partnered with Americorps and 4-H for several years now. They do have someone in the position from last year, or that I think they're in position this year, correct? And last year's fee was $3,000, but we actually had that reduced, and we looked at that last month because of the ability for them to have that hire in place. But they do have that person for this year, and the cost is going to be $2,000, which will be you can see here, there will be the quarter 4 invoices of $500 per quarter. But again, the good part for us, if you look down here at the bottom, is providing in-school, in-class 4-H programs for all of our 4th and 5th grade students, and meeting with 6th through 12 students during club time and after school in the Fannin County School System, also supporting the Master Gardener Youth Education Committee, and also coordinate with school enrichment programs to all students of 4th through 12. And you know how I feel about STEM, and so those programs will be focused on agriculture, STEM, healthy living, civic engagement. So this gives our kids the ability to be able to participate in 4-H, which is a great program for our kids. So I would ask that you approve this partnership again with 4-H Americorps.
Mr. Chair, you or the board have any questions for Mr. Inslee on this, or our guests who represent the organization? Okay, with that, I recommend approval of this as presented, sir.
I'll make that motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, thank you, board. The next item on the agenda is item number 20, and this is personnel. Mr. Chair, I'll have you open to personnel sheet dated 7/9/2020. Give the board just a moment to go there.
I believe we're good, sir.
We ready? Okay. Personnel sheet resignations effective June 18, 2020. Cherie Wright, make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Chair, have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. Effective June 29, 2020, resignation of Caitlin Brianna Rosas. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Have that motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. Recommendations that are effective for the 2020-2021 school year, and each of these are pending a completion of a background check and requisite paperwork, Mr. Chair. So I have a recommendation for teacher of Seth Davis. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Can the chair have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. I have two recommendations for paraprofessional. We can take these collectively, Mr. Chair. They are Rita Chapman and Gretchen Gordon. Make that recommendation for both, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. And our final recommendation this evening is Dana Hawkins, School Nutrition Manager. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Chair, have that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, and that completes the personnel sheet for this evening, and that moves us into superintendent's comments. And I would just like to say it was nice to see folks here this evening. Thank you so much for coming in, as well as those of you that watched us on Rebel TV this evening. Thank you so much for being a part of our meeting. I'd like to go back to our 5:30 meeting on the budget. Susan, you did a great job, and thank you so much. These are, if we didn't have anything else to consider or to think about with the start of school, just simply dealing with the 10% cut in state funding would be significant enough. And I'm thankful to have you in this position to lead the way with sound financial decisions, and well done. Our personnel presentation that went along with that, part of the ability to save money, as Mr. Inslee pointed out, the personnel is the most significant portion of our budget, and this gentleman does a fantastic job with the leadership of our personnel. Proud of you, and thank you, Mr. Inslee. The preparation of the restart plan, led by Sarah Rigdon. Excellent job. I'm proud of you too, Sarah. It's taken a great deal of work to get us to where we are today with the principals and the directors and folks in the community, as well as folks, at a variety of levels. There's a lot of pieces that are moving with that, and again, the document that we've got is a great start, and we couldn't have done it without you, so thank you. Mr. Foster, I'm looking forward to that, the implementation of this technology plan, and on your buses to keep track and to help and be a better service. You really emphasize service with your work and your leadership in your department, and I appreciate that very much. And I think it's great to have such an accomplishment within a year of being a director, especially what a first year you've had. If you think about just starting and going through a normal school bus year, and then suddenly on middle of March you're no longer picking up students but turning around and delivering food. You've handled everything that's come at you amazingly well, and I'm proud of you. Thank you. Mr. Danner, I want to give you a special shout out, and I'm proud of you as well with the facilities updates and the improvements that are being made, and you're leading the maintenance department to keep our schools in great shape. And so I'm thankful for your work and your leadership over that. And I'm also thankful for the SPLOS that we have that was approved by the voters that allow us to accomplish those projects. Also looking forward to a call meeting board on the construction so we can come in and look at some things for future projects for Fannin County Schools. Again, thank you to those that are here and are watching us online at the Rebel TV. That's all I've got. Thank you, sir. I guess that means I'm done. Turn it back over to you, sir.
Mr. Cole, do you want to start us?
Sure. Ms. Rigdon, thanks for the explanation on the SGT. A lot of people would like to know how that works, and I think that explanation is very good. SPLOS, can't believe in a pandemic that the amount of money the school just got from that. I think that's a great thing. Mr. Denver, you're going to set a lot of mama's minds at ease with this, being able to track that. And, I would have been on time had we had that back in my day. Darren, what an awesome job, man. You haven't even slowed down at all. Just been really busy. I'm going to tell you the highlight for me tonight was seeing the people come out, public comment. I mean, I was excited for that. I saw some leave, didn't wait out, but that's important. Important part. I actually miss, because of being on the board, I miss seeing people get involved. I can't tell how many are out there, but when they come in here, like Shay, I picked her up on a bus when she lived in Morganton. I was a substitute bus driver, when she was just this tall. And that's exciting to see them get involved and really, I don't know what I've been Googling IMP. I don't know, that's a term I'm not aware of. So when you brought that out, I immediately want to know, what am I missing? So thank you for bringing that to my attention, so I can get educated on what that is. And it's a great day to live in Fannin County. And with all the stuff that's going around in the state and the nation, I'm happy to live in Fannin County. And I want to thank all the people that came out today and showed support for the school. Whether you agree or disagree with one another, I'm grateful to be here. And I thank you for the time and allowing me to be a part of it. And that's done for me.
My next?
If you're ready.
All right. I'd like to start out by asking you to remember Mr. DeWeese and his wife. As Mr. Gwatney had already pointed out, he had to put his wife in the hospital today. Please pray for them. Miss Gwen, you've done an excellent job again, like always. Miss Rigdon, you surprise me every time you get up, ma'am. You've done an outstanding job on that. And I appreciate everyone who worked on that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of them that worked on that. And I appreciate it more when we carry it out and it works. Denver, the bus alert. I had one of them back when I was little. It was called a window. When I seen the bus through the window, I knew to run. And I had one of those. But anyhow, I think that would greatly help with parents knowing that they're coming. Mr. Danner, another outstanding job. I'd like to call Mr. Danner out personally, and I want to tell you why. I want to call him out in a good way. If you don't know, I work for the city of Blue Ridge, and we had some people coming to play softball over at the ball field. And I called Mr. Danner up, and I told him that Mike and I needed something done over there at the field where the high school plays. Guess who came? Yep, Mr. Danner did. He did it himself. And I told my wife, I said I had a lot of respect for Mr. Danner before, but I've got a lot more for him now. And I appreciate that, Mr. Danner. One other thing I want to ask you to do, whether we have the pandemic or not, please pray for our children. They need it. If you got any thinking up here and you see some of the things that our children has to go through with, please pray for them. They're the most valuable asset we have. And thank you all for being here. That's me, Mr. Chad.
It's an honor to serve. Thank you very much for your participation here tonight. A lot of exciting news. I'm excited about the transportation alerts. This system has prided itself on technology. And since Dr. Gwatney laid the foundations as our technology director, and Ms. Finley has carried it right on to where we are today, it's been a real hallmark of our system. But even our parents now are going to get the benefit of that technology through this alert system. We couldn't see the bus through the window. It was a half mile from my home through the woods, so it would have been great having that alert system there. I can't say enough about this administration and this team. All of the planning and the contingent plans, all of the possibilities that they've had to consider in bringing this together so we can get our kids back into school is just phenomenal. But this team doesn't shy away from anything. I mean, they jump right in, they work diligently, and I'm so very proud of them. So thank you all for your dedication, your diligence to the Fannin County school system and to our youth. Thank you.
Certainly say thank you to everyone that showed up, especially those that come for public comment. I agree with Mr. Cole. I look forward to it. It's how we hear, and it's how we base a lot of our opinions and decisions. So definitely we want to hear from the public. We love hearing from you. I want to send a special shout out to you, Mr. Hensley, for saving the amount of money that you did as far as with the teachers and stuff. That's amazing. 800,000, almost 800,000. That's incredible. We're getting close to that's almost one meal, the way I look at it. I know a little over $1 million is one meal, but that's pretty close, and that's pretty impressive. Taxpayers ought to appreciate that. So, and I certainly appreciate that. I want to shout out to maintenance, to each and every one of the guys. I might say Darren had a little hand in it, but maybe not, wherever he's at. But I do appreciate all of our maintenance men, how hard they work. What Darren shows and stuff that they're doing, it's impressive, and I do appreciate it. Denver and the buses, wow. We'd talked about it a day earlier too, and I was impressed then, but seeing the video and stuff and hearing all the other things that's to come along with it, it's going to be great, and I'm really excited about it. And Mr. Gwatney, I want to thank you for the Rainy Day Fund, for basically giving us the mindset or whatever to put it back, being conservative with it so that we can weather stuff like this when it comes, that we ain't having to furlough teachers and we're not having to pay cut, we're not having to lay off teachers. I appreciate your leadership in that and giving us the leeway in doing it. So definitely want to call you out for that for sure. And Ms. Rigdon and all the community members, the healthcare people, everybody that had a part in that. I know it was a little nerve-wracking for you. I know you've been stressing about it, getting it out, but I do appreciate it. I appreciate all your hard work and everything. I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to school starting back. With that, I'll say God bless you and thank you. Motion to adjourn. Go ahead, sure.
Could I just give a quick shout out if it's appropriate? I'm happy to see our principals back.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, it's been lonely.
Yes, and I'm glad you're here, y'all. Thank you. And, we saw Dr. Hodges, and also look over here, we've got our SROs. Glad to see you here as well. So I just want to give a special shout out to them, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?